Good evening. A video by so-called Islamic State featuring a man and a young boy with British accents is desperate stuff, the Prime Minister David Cameron has announced. The film, which purports to show the killing of 5 men who ISA were spying for the UK, is from a group that is losing territory and increasingly losing anybody's sympathy. Also tonight, strikes by junior doctors in England are back on after talks with the government have broken down. And a 24-hour walkout next Tuesday will be followed by a 48-hour strike on the 26th of January in the contract dispute. Very good evening. A video by so-called Islamic State featuring a man and a young boy with British accents is desperate stuff, the Prime Minister has announced. The film, which purports to show the killing of 5 men who ISA were spying for the UK, is from a group that is losing territory and increasingly losing anybody's sympathy. The UK's intelligence agency are examining the footage, and voice print analysis will be carried out to try and identify the masked man.
The latest propaganda video from the group calling itself Islamic State. A masked killer taunting Britain and addressing its Prime Minister, all in a British accent.
How strange it is that a leader of a small island threatens us with a handful of planes.
Today, the Prime Minister gave his response.
Well, it's desperate stuff from an organisation that really does do the most utterly despicable and ghastly acts, and people can see that again today. But this is an organisation that's losing territory, it's losing ground.
This film in some ways is not that unusual. It's part of a stream of propaganda directed at different countries. The videos are often brutal, and they sometimes feature children. A child as young as 5, who also may be British, is in the latest video. IS has lost some ground recently, for instance here in Ramadi, but experts are unsure that this new video really is a sign that they're in retreat.
Islamic State is still very much here as part of the landscape in the Levant. It's going to be around for a number of years yet, and the idea that the group is somehow desperate and as a result of that is putting out videos, I think is misreading the situation.
Here at MI5 headquarters, analysts will have spent the last 24 hours poring over every detail of this latest video, comparing it to the details they have on file about known jihadists to try to confirm the killer's identity. Hundreds of Britons are in Syria, but speculation today is focused on this man, Siddhartha Dar, who calls himself Abu Rumaisa. He fled Britain whilst on police bail in 2014. Tonight, a former associate told the BBC they had no doubt the voice was his. His sister told the BBC she at first thought it was him, but is now less sure.
I was just in a bit of in a state of shock because I believed the audio to resemble, from what I remember, the voice of my brother. But I think having viewed the short clip in detail, I wasn't entirely convinced, which put me at ease.
Whoever he is, the masked man seems to be trying to emulate Mohammed Emwazi, dubbed Jihadi John, and killed in a drone strike in November. Emwazi may have been tracked down here in Raqqa with the help of informers, and it's IS's fear of them that's at the heart of this new video, as 5 men alleged to be spies are shown killed. Another sign of the brutality of life under IS.
Doctors in England are back after talks with the government have broken down. A 24-hour walkout next Tuesday will be followed by a 48-hour strike on the 26th of January in the contract dispute. A third day of action will take place in February, the British Medical Association, the BMA, have said. The action is likely to lead to thousands of non-emergency operations and hospital appointments being cancelled in the coming days.
Well, it's a very disappointing outcome today because we had 16 areas of disagreement and we found a solution on 15 of the 16. The one area that wasn't resolved was pay for unsocial hours, which we were prepared to negotiate on, but instead of negotiating, the BMA have chosen to walk out of the talks and call industrial action. But the reality is that we want to offer patients the same high quality care in the NHS every single day of the week. And in the last 6 weeks alone, we've had 2 more studies showing that mortality rates are still higher at weekends. And the right thing to do is to sit round the table and to discuss that.
A clean-up operation is getting underway to clear oil exposed on the Norfolk coast. The oil is believed to have come from a wreck of an oil tanker that sank nearly 40 years ago.
Over the past few weeks, there's been some fairly unrelenting erosion along the east coast caused by easterly winds. Here in Clacton, this was the level of the beach, and if I follow it through and walk down a little bit, you can see here the sand would have been up to my waist. All that material now washed out to sea. And further up the coast in Norfolk, other problems too. This weekend, oil started appearing on the beach between Hopson and Galston. That's near Great Yarmouth. That oil actually came from a pollution incident back in 1978 when an oil tanker, a Greek-registered ship, the Eleni V, hit a bulk carrier and was split in two several miles offshore, spewing oil onto the beaches. A huge clean-up operation followed, and the tanker itself was actually towed offshore and then blown up by the military. But the oil persists. It was dug deep into the beach and then covered up. And in recent days, that oil has started to appear. It poses a headache for the authorities. What do? Do they clear it up? Do they leave it? Do they wait for the beach material to return? Well, back here at Clacton, the hope is that the beach will return. This whole stretch of coast had £36 million spent on it on a huge scheme to install groins to retain the beach. That was completed in only September last year. Now, the engineers at the local council say the erosion we've seen here is within their expectations. They are not unduly worried, but locals are concerned. Of course, the concern will grow if the beach continues to vanish. Hopefully, that won't be the case.
Also on this story, accidental oil spills in parts of Europe have led to a growing concern regarding how prepared Northern Ireland is to respond according to the European project.
The port handles about 70% of Northern Ireland's seaborne trade and about 20% of the islands as a whole. And with almost 500,000 freight vehicles using the ferry terminals in 2014, those in charge have to plan for any possible collision which could result in an oil spill. But predicting which direction the oil will travel can be difficult. It's hoped that a weather station 3 miles out in the inner loch can help fix that problem.
This station helps to inform the process, so the government agencies in the harbour will respond to any incident. This station helps to maintain a model that will predict both the transport of the oil and the impacts of it if there was an incident of that nature.
It does this by using instruments which measure the speed of wind and its direction, the temperature, and what way the tide is moving. Using this data, computer simulations like this one can be run to predict the likelihood of where the oil spill will travel to. After that, authorities at Belfast Harbour can deploy oil booms like this to capture the oil.
Planning for oil spills is nothing new. It's something that's been happening for decades. But planning for them in high-risk areas so close to shore, such as here in Belfast Loch, is more recent. And the instruments used here are the only ones used anywhere in Ireland and only the 4th in Europe.
If we have a small pollution event or a pollution event, we're in a position to provide real-time information into the sprays model. That then will best tell us where to deploy our equipment to reduce the impact on the environment.
Temporary funding has allowed the project to get up and running, but its future is by no means certain. Those behind the system hope to be granted the money to maintain the equipment on a yearly basis. Barra Best, BBC Newsline on Belfast Loch.
And that is it from our first show. We are still making final touches to the programme. Like there is a certain thing in our studio that isn't sorted that we do need to sort. But that is it from our first show. We want to thank you for watching. We do hope you can join us at the same time tomorrow to join us again, and hopefully we'll be able to stream on YouTube live. I know we've had some troubles with that as well. But from all of us here, have a great evening. Bye bye.